Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding the hidden rules that shape our world. We're going to look at everything from the grand sweep of history all the way down to the moves we make in our own lives.
So you have to wonder, right? Is history just a bunch of random things that happen? Well, the source material we're looking at says, not really. It all starts with the game board itself.
You see, the argument is that history isn't random at all. Actually, it's powerfully shaped by something we can't change: geography. You can think of it like a giant chessboard. The land itself kind of limits and defines all the possible moves.
And this isn't just some abstract theory. You can see it clear as day if you look at a map of Italy. The country's wealth is not spread out evenly, and it's not just because some people work harder. The real difference, a lot of the time, comes down to geography. Things like having wide, flat plains, rivers you can travel on, and easy access to the sea. This comparison really drives the point home. That huge wealth gap between northern and southern Italy, it's not just about culture, it's baked into the land itself. The North's prosperity is built on the Po River Valley, which is flat, fertile, and just perfect for farming, for trade, and for supporting a lot of people. But down south, you've got these mountains, which makes all of that stuff way, way harder. So the big takeaway here is that geography sets the board. It dramatically limits the moves that are available. Now, it doesn't decide everything, of course, but it creates these powerful tendencies that are just incredibly tough to fight against. Okay, so if geography sets the board, then what determines the actual rules of the game? Let's zoom in a bit, from the static board to the dynamic way the players interact with each other. All right, let's talk about the game itself. You know, one of the most basic games in all of nature is the game of attraction. And our source material has this really fascinating way of looking at it, calling it the ecology of beauty. And this is not just some philosophical idea. It's an evolutionary strategy that literally changed the color of our planet. So in this game, you've got two players: desire, which is the seeker, and beauty, the attractor. Desire is drawn to things that offer a benefit. Think of a bee looking for nectar. And beauty, well, it evolves to signal that benefit in the most appealing way it can. You know, for most of Earth's history, the whole planet was basically just green and brown. Then, about 130 million years ago, something incredible happened. Flowers just exploded onto the scene. And they evolved their amazing colors and shapes not by accident, but as this brilliant solution to attract pollinators. It turned a totally random process, like wind pollination, into a super reliable win-win partnership. This is just a perfect example of a core rule of the game. The most successful systems are often built on this idea of mutually beneficial attraction. Beauty isn't just some superficial thing. It's a powerful signal of value and cooperation. So, the board is set. The rules are pretty clear. Now, let's talk about the most important piece on that board: you. Because look, understanding the external rules is one thing, but mastering your internal game, that's a whole other level. So, how do you become a master player? It's not about just making small, steady improvements. It's about a fundamental shift in how you think. It's about going from tiny, incremental gains to these huge, non-linear leaps. This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures that leap from being an amateur to what one source calls a magician, someone whose skill just seems to be on a completely different plane of existence. For example, the source talks about this amazing body painter, Sanat Dinda, whose work was so revolutionary it just completely shattered the rules of his craft. He didn't just play the game better, he totally rewrote it. So here's this 4-step process designed to help you make those big leaps. By surrounding yourself with magicians and setting a goal that feels impossible, you're basically giving your subconscious a new, much bigger target to aim for. But a new mindset, that's only half the battle. You also need a new strategy. I mean, we've all been there, right? You're either chasing every new shiny object that comes along, or you're stubbornly sticking to a plan that just isn't working anymore. So how do you find that balance? Well, one source suggests this really powerful framework for doing just that, and it's all about finding your personal sweet spot. The sweet spot is right where these 3 circles overlap: what you're good at, what the market will actually pay for, and what you're truly passionate about. It's not some fixed point either. It's more like a dynamic zone where you can do your absolute best, most fulfilling work. So, how do you actually put this into practice? You start with a huge, ambitious 25-year vision for your life. But, and this is key, you don't try to plan out every single step. Instead, you break it down into focused 90-day sprints. This lets you make real, tangible progress while still being flexible enough to adapt and pivot when you need to.
I love this quote from Robert Frost. It's just a beautiful reminder that true understanding doesn't come from just planning all the moves. It comes from the experience of doing the work. The planning is absolutely essential, but the real learning, the deep insights, that all happens in the doing.
So, we've covered the board, the game, and the player. We've seen how geography sets the stage, how the rules of attraction shape all our interactions, and how we can start to build a winning strategy. But maybe the most important lesson of all is this. The deepest understanding comes from actually playing the game.
So the board is set. The rules are revealed. The only question left is, what's your next move? Thanks for watching.